This next chapter has what is probably one of the more significant miracles, but it's, in my mind, it's kind of one of the funniest stories in the entire Bible. Because what you have is Syria came yet again. We keep having this Syria problem, right? And they come to Israel, and they've besieged Israel, and there's major inflation. So since we're not able to get the goods that we need, the cost has gone up and up and up and up. So chapter 7 opens with verse 1 that says, "Then Elisha said, 'Hear ye the word of the Lord.'" But again, it's coming out of Elisha's mouth. "Hear ye the word of the Lord." I'm just an instrument. These aren't my words. It's not "hear ye the words of Elisha." "Thus saith the Lord, tomorrow about this time shall a measure of fine flour be sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel in the gate of Samaria." And people are sitting there thinking, how is that possible? We're in this major, major crisis because of this siege that's been going on.
There's a famine. And then one of the leaders says, this is just impossible. I don't agree with this at all. Verse 2, "Then a Lord on whose hand the king leaned answered the man of God and said, Behold, if the Lord would make windows in heaven, might this thing be?" So he doesn't trust that God will open the windows of heaven. And Elijah said, "Behold, thou shalt see with thine own eyes, but shalt not eat thereof."
So that man gets a prophecy on him to say, yeah, you're going to see this prophecy come to pass, but you're not going to get to eat. So now he's made 2 what would seem like completely unreasonable prophecies in verse 1 and 2. And then you get the story of these 4 lepers.
It's interesting. They're like, we're going to die anyway in this famine. Let's just go out to the Syrian camp and let's just turn ourselves into them. Either they'll kill us or we'll die back at town. But if the Syrians don't kill us, we'll get to eat with them.
So they go out to the camp, and the camp's deserted. Their tents are there. The food is there, prepared in some cases. The riches are all there, but the Syrians are gone. Why? Because verse 6, "The Lord had made the host of the Syrians to hear a noise of chariots and a noise of horses, even the noise of a great host. And they said one to another, Lo, the king of Israel hath hired against us the kings of the Hittites and the kings of the Egyptians to come upon us. Wherefore they arose and fled in the twilight, and left their tents and their horses and their asses, and even the camp as it was, and fled for their life." So they're gone. They've headed home, leaving all of their camp there. And these 4 lepers go in, find all of these riches and all of this food, and they eat, and they take a hoard of riches and hide it and come back and get more. And then they finally say, you know what? We're not doing a good thing here. We should let the people know that there's no more struggle. So verse 10 says, "They came and called unto the porter of the city, and they told them, saying, We came to the camp of the Syrians, and behold, there was no man there, neither voice of man, but horses tied and asses tied, and the tents as they were." So then the king arose in the night, verse 12, and he said unto his servants, "I will now show you what the Syrians have done to us. They know that we be hungry." And so he thinks they've laid this trap to wait for us to come out of the city, come into their camp, and then they're going to come out of hiding and kill us. That's his thinking. But one of his servants said, "Well, let's just take some. Let's 5 of the horses that remain, and we're going to go out so that we'll be able to at least get away if it is a trap." And they head out. Notice verse 15, "When they went out after them unto Jordan, and lo, all the way was full of garments and vessels which the Syrians had cast away in their haste. And the messengers returned and told the king, saying, They really have gone. The camp is ours." And so the people went out and spoiled the tents of the Syrians. So a measure of fine flour was sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel, according to the word of the Lord. Notice it wasn't according to the word of Elisha. It's according to the word of the Lord. Elisha wasn't speaking for Elisha. He was on the Lord's errand. And it came to pass. Oh, but he had made a second prophecy about that servant of the king who resisted his first prophecy.
in verse 17, and the king appointed the Lord on whose hand he leaned to have the charge of the gate, right? This is where people go in and out. And the people trode upon him in the gate, and he died, as the man of God had said, who spake when the king came down to him. And so again, there's like this crush of people, right? There's been a famine. Everyone's rushing out to get food and resources, and this guy gets trampled to death. There's a couple of interesting things. First of all, we have these lepers. Lepers were not people who were easily and readily welcomed into society. And they end up being these heroes. All of us at some point in our lives, maybe you're in this situation right now, you might feel a bit ostracized from society in some way. And yet, you can play an important role to help the rest of society to thrive and survive. God can help you find that. I also love that throughout these stories we've seen today, that you have leaders who don't always know what to do. You have these political leaders who don't always know what to do. And you have these servants, people who are serving the political leaders, who are providing wise counsel and encouragement and alternate perspectives. There's wisdom in counsel.